On today's episode of Performance TV, Kathy and Robert head back to the studio for a look at a few new toys to make your car life easier.
Welcome to this week's Performance TV. Now, fans of the show, you know that we've visited with Steel Rubber, we've gone to their car shows, we've had an opportunity to visit their facility and see how they make their products. And they have well over 12,000 products. And Danny is joining us here today from Steel Rubber here in the studio. And Danny, you guys are always coming up with new things, and now you've extended your product line into RVs and trailers and so much more.
Yeah, so we've come out with a lot of different extrusion profiles that are really good for RVs, and especially those slide out portions.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's on your RV, toter home, your toy hauler, all those things require weather stripping. So we have a lot of the new profiles are kind of like what we call like a P profile, where they have a bulb and a lip. So whenever that slide out comes out, you've got a seal. And whenever it comes back in, that bulb is the other seal.
Oh yeah, because if you have to be like my husband and myself, our stuff has to sit outside, which is even harder on it than if you were able to store it. And you know, listening to the air whistle and everything else through the slide out kind of just really sucks.
Yeah, and it's hard for people to find the stuff they're looking for.
Sure.
These RV manufacturers are using all kinds of different things. They're not consistent. So we carry a wide variety, and we can help you figure out which one that you need.
So motorhomes, you know, your toter, your heavy hauler type stuff like we use for racing, your toy haulers, the race car trailers, utility trailers. And I mean, you guys are going to cover everything. You have a pretty big catalog here.
Yes, we have our RV catalog, and it goes through all different kinds of sections, whether it be your slide outs or the compartments that are underneath there, or the little access door, the little screen doors,
Sure.
your glass. And then we also have our sample packs that we can send out. So you give us an idea of what you're looking for, and we have a sample pack for it that we can send to you, and you can size up and see exactly what would work for you. The Universal has all of our extrusions, over 300 extrusions in there, sponge, dense, for all kinds of uses, as well as all the grommets and plugs and things that you never know what you need until you get in there.
Oh, absolutely, and you don't realize how many of them there are until they start going bad or have dried out or cracked or completely fallen apart. And just like all of the other Steel Rubber products, you guys are using the 3M tape.
That's right. The 3M tape works super well. We also have the clinch seal that can be pushed on.
Okay.
So whatever application that you have, we have something that'll work for it.
You know, when you're trying to put something back together or whatever, you guys are really good about, we can call if we're having any issues on the proper way to install. I mean, you've got a whole staff there that we can make phone calls to.
Yeah, we do rubber parts all day long, every day of the week. That's what we're experts in. So if you have a question, give us a call and we can find that answer for you.
Okay, and you know, I also want to remind everyone, over 12,000 parts for the classic cars too. I mean, that's what you guys are really known for, and you've been doing this for how many decades?
Coming up on 6.
Let's say I have a 1967 Nova, just got to throw this in there. I can call up and get a catalog with all the parts in it just for that car.
That's right. Yep, we have the car-specific catalogs, the Universal, and the RV, and they're all great. They're all free, and they're all available on our website, or you can call us and get one.
Danny, you guys not only make this stuff, but you make sure that it installs properly, and you've got some video for us.
That's right. We did an install on an RV of the slide-out weather strip. We took off the old stuff. It was really super deteriorated, falling apart. I mean, you can see gaps in between. It just wasn't doing anything. So we took it all off, made sure we cleaned it up really good. That's one of the most important parts of doing an install, is prepping all the surfaces. When you're talking about rubber and glue and, you know, whether it's the 3M tape or not, you really got to clean everything really well and then glue properly. And we have these videos for the RV install. We have them for different car installs. We have a lot of instructional videos on our website and our YouTube channel.
You know, and you also mentioned about around the screen doors as well. I mean, we have 2 of those on our stuff, and that stuff just goes bad pretty quick.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, the stuff they use. It's almost like a fuzzy, weird thing that falls apart instantly. You rub it, it gets on your fingers. So we just tore that off and put on some new stuff, and it works so much better. Keeps the door from slamming. It's great.
doors from slamming, dust, less dust from getting in, bugs and everything else. But yeah, you do a good job installing that. Danny, thanks for joining us and showing us about your new product line for all of the RV, the toy haulers and the trailers. You can find out more by going to their website at steelrubber.com. And will you leave this here for me?
Yeah, you can have that piece.
This will help me keep Robert in line. We'll have more coming up next here on Performance TV. Thank you, I like this.
Performance TV is being brought to you by EvapoRust, super safe rust remover. Bull Snot, nothing slicker than bull snot. Advertising Edge, custom branding solutions and promotional products. And by Steel Rubber Products, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping.
Welcome back to Performance TV. The side-by-side market just continues to grow, but people want to take them from fun to work. And we have our stock one here with us today, and we need to be able to put some bigger tires on it. We need more ground clearance, and that's why we have Chris Keeter with us, who is the owner at SXS Gear. Chris, we're going to be able to do all of that today and so much more. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Yeah, what we've come up with is we've come up with a gear reduction portal system that first and foremost provides a 30% gear reduction. But second to that, it provides a 4-inch lift.
Okay.
So transferring all the wear and tear of the vehicle outside of the driveline to the portal system that, again, generates a 30% gear reduction to turn a more aggressive tire and to do it with greater ease than a factory unit.
Yeah, and we were talking about taking these things more for work, but they're still going to be a lot more fun to play, too, with that aggressive tire on there.
Absolutely. What we want to do is we want to make it more fun to go to work, and that's exactly what we've done.
And all of your components are all manufactured here in the USA?
It's 100% billet aluminum. There isn't anything that's cast. We use double lip seals on the input shafts, double lip seals on the output spindle shaft. Everything starts as 8620 bars of steel that we machine down and heat treat to perfection.
Well, Robert has been working on getting the install done, and let's check in and see how far he's come along.
Well, Kathy, I have the stock knuckle right here. You can see the new one actually lowers the axle by about 4 inches, so it's a true lift on the vehicle. They maintain the axle geometry this way, so we get no binding or anything like that. There's actually only 2 bolts to change it, and then 2 bolts for the caliper. Super easy. We've done the back one ahead of time because it's the easier of the two. We're going to go into depth up front. I have Trey Price from Intimidator here. It's going to help me install the front portal box. Trey, what's our first step?
After removing all of your stock hardware in the front knuckle, your first step is to reach down and attach your lower ball joint.
Okay.
After the lower ball joint is attached, you can rotate the assembly up, which is going to attach your half shaft through the center. It'll spin up. You can line your top ball joint in place, and it'll drop right in. It's just as much for work as it is for play.
And my understanding is that because we put bigger tires on it, we lose very little in the top end.
We do. So you're still gaining about 10% of the gear reduction even after adding the 32-inch tires and 15-inch bead locks to the package.
Well, that's fantastic. And I noticed that our axle angle really hasn't changed at all.
That was one of the main things we were looking for. When we first reached out to SXS Gear, we were looking for a portal box company that was going to keep the half shafts in the factory location. One of the biggest things that takes place when you lift one of these vehicles is that half shaft gets put at more of an angle and it puts the half shaft in a bind, which causes you to snap axle shafts. So with this portal box, it keeps that in the factory location and adds the lift and gear reduction at the wheel.
And because I can get it straight from the factory like this, I can finance the whole thing through you.
Absolutely. So financing through your dealer is available. And also, because we're getting it through the dealer, we're able to remove a lot of stock parts off the unit to save the customer money. These are things that you would have thrown out anyways, the stock knuckles, the stock wheels and tires, stuff that's not needed for the initial purchase.
Okay. So Trey, what's our next step here?
Our next step is to add the axle nut to the end of the axle shaft. As you can tell, the stock axle shaft is coming out at this location here, and this is where your normal center of the wheel would be. Because of the portal box, we're moving that location down 4 inches, and the gears are located inside this housing.
Now I understand this is going to be an option on the 2017 Enforcer, is that correct?
Absolutely. We've got a new package coming out this year with our 2017 year model, and it is called the Enforcer. It comes factory installed with these portal gears from SXS Gear, and it also comes with 32-inch tires and 15-inch bead locks. We've had customers come take a look at the product, and so far we can't keep them in stock. Pre-orders have taken off more than we can build. Our next step is to put on the caliper and the rotor. I'll grab the rotor if you want to pull the caliper.
Perfect. I can see this is really easy to put on. I think that's one of the greatest things about this.
Absolutely. Chris has designed this system to be a direct replacement for stock parts.
And my understanding is this is going to come stock on the 2017 Enforcer, is that correct?
It's an Enforcer package. It comes in 2017 year model. It comes with Chris's portal gearboxes on all four corners, 32-inch tires, and 15-inch single-phase bead locks.
I can't wait to put the tires on and see, drop it down and see what this looks like. Well, Trey, I can see we have a much more aggressive stance here. You know, it really looks great.
Absolutely, and it works just as good as it looks.
You know, the 4-inch lift combined with the 30% gear reduction really makes this a versatile vehicle. For more information, check out the website. We'll be back with more Performance TV right after this.
Performance TV coming to you from Borla Commerce Park.
Welcome back to Performance TV. Check out the incredible finish on this 69 Mustang. I've got Hans Kemp from BASF who's going to tell us how to get that finish on our cars. Hans, why don't you tell me a little bit about your system?
Absolutely. I know this may look a little bit complicated, but really this is a pretty simple system, and that is going to produce that. So I want to have your audience understand what it really takes to have that finish produced and actually have it stay looking like that for literally decades. So a typical build here, you know, bare steel or e-coat, most guys are going to strip this off anyways. Start with a high quality two-component epoxy.
That'll really help me with rust protection, correct?
Rust protection, adhesion, all those things. You need to have that as your base. On top of that, most guys are going to do their build, whether they're using a two-component polyester putty, or in this case, I used a spray fill to really do a large area. I mean, like this. This is obviously complete. You can either use it to crisp up your body lines or take care of minor dents that just happen to occur. On top of that, we want to use a two-component urethane really to, I'm going to say, to seal off and cap this. Otherwise, some of your solvents from your base coat application will actually, leach in and soften, and that's where guys are in trouble again. But on top of this is a typical base coat, clear coat system. This is actually what we refer to as a quad coat. There's a white, there's a red, and then there's an orange pearl on top, and then capped with a two-component acrylic urethane. Which, again, this is the same typical build as what you'll see on this car, same clear. Here I've got maybe 2 coats, whereas something like this is going to have 7 or possibly 8 coats.
Now you have some pretty exotic finishes available, don't you? I mean, this finish right here is pretty, but what else?
We do mild to wild and everywhere in between. We've got colors back to dates back to the 20s, but just to show you a little bit on maybe the wild side is, this is an incredibly exciting color here, and as well this casts an extremely vivid rainbow effect. This happens to be a very extreme pigment, we call it, and gives quite a finish.
Well, that is quite a finish. Let's take a closer look at the actual finished car and get into that with Kathy.
Yeah, Robert, this is just one phenomenal example of what you can do with the Glazeret line, and that's where we have Mike Carroll joining us from BASF. And Mike, so many of the top builders like Jonathan Goolsby use the Glazeret line.
Absolutely, Kathy. Not only Jonathan, but Chip Foose, Troy Tapanier, and also the Ring brothers. And they win many awards by using finishes with Glazeret paint.
Yeah, like the example that we have here with Goolsby Customs. This was a 2015 Mother Shine Award winner out at the SEMA show. And these guys have been using this stuff for so many years because we're talking about over 100 years of the product line.
Absolutely. Glazeret was actually, it's got more than 100 years of paint experience. And we've only ever had 3 base coats that we introduced our first base coat to the world in 1964.
Wow.
And we replaced that in 1990 with another solvent-borne base coat, along with a waterborne base coat, and that's all Glazert's ever had for base coats. We never had to replace them. They were just that good.
You know, and if someone is going to go back and, you know, restore a car, they don't have to try to get close. They can do something all the way back to the 1920s. You guys can hook them up with the exact match.
Absolutely. We have a full deck of colors. Actually, 14,000 colors that are sprayed out. 14,000 are sprayed out, and you can actually look at what color that was on a 1930 Ford, for example.
You know, and because you guys have been doing this for so long, even like back, you had all the blacks that Henry Ford used, right?
Every
all
one.
the shades of black.
Every one. The primers are all labeled exactly the same color. The base coat's all the same, and the clear's all the same. So when you look at the simple system, actually, our hardeners go all the way through all the top coat lines. We have one set of reducers. It's a very tight or very small system to use.
Mike, when we want to talk about awards, how about 8 of the last 13 Riddler Awards?
You know, they all used BASF paint, most of them Glazert.
Oh, wow. That's absolutely amazing. And that is a huge 8 feathers in your cap, too.
Yes, it is.
But it's not just, you know, the folks like Goolsby and Chip Foose and the custom people. It's OEM folks that are using the Glazert line.
Absolutely. We are OEM at Rolls-Royce and also Tesla. So if someone comes in and picks a one-off color, if you will, their custom color, the Cathy green.
The Cathy green.
Okay. They would actually use 90 line at the factory.
All right, it would actually be a Cathy blue, but
Okay.
okay. You want to find out more about the complete line, just hop on BASFrefinish.com, and we have so much more coming up just minutes away here on Performance TV.
Performance TV is being brought to you by Gen Y Hitch, towing made easy. Car Top Cargo Carriers, just get in the car and go. Gusher Pumps, manufacturers of quality pumps since 1913. And by Dustless Blasting, it's the future of surface preparation.
Welcome back to Performance TV. If you have a classic automobile and you want to upgrade your transmission from a 2 or 3 speed to an overdrive, ShiftWorks and Herb Gray is the guy to talk to. Herb, why don't you tell me a little bit about your product line and what you do?
Well, ShiftWorks started about 25 years ago, and we started with making parts so that people could convert their existing factory shifters and older Chevelles, Camaros to work in those days from the Power Glide to a Turbo 350, Turbo 400, but today it's expanded into the 4L60s, the 700 R4s, the 200 R4s, the 6L, you know, all the way up to the 6L80 we handle now for people that want to change their transmission and still have that factory look.
So if I have, say, an older Chevelle and I want it to look like the factory, but I want an overdrive transmission, you can convert that for me.
Right, we can provide all the parts to take your old factory shifter and change it so it works with the overdrive transmission just like the factory would.
Okay, now you've got a couple of different shifters here. Why don't you tell me what we're looking at?
These are reproduction shifters that are sold today. This would be a shifter designed just like the factory did for a 3-speed transmission.
Okay. And now, if I get this shifter and I want to put in my 4-speed, what do I do to convert it here?
Okay, well, we have a kit that we sell, and it includes a new detent, which is the shift gate. Okay, and you have to have you have to have the other parts at the transmission so the geometry all works so that it functions properly.
So I should make sure I use every part you send me.
Use the parts we send you.
Okay, and I notice you've got some bezels here. You have both the green and the clear, so it looks like what came with my car.
Right. In the beginning, we were making the hard parts for the shifter, and then people say, well, they really wanted it to look, you know, the look. So we started making up the indicator lenses. And in this case, those are the Chevelle ones. The early Chevelles were green, then GM changed to white. If you had a Camaro, the lens would be entirely different shape and size.
Naturally, just to keep things good.
Oh yeah, and we make a lot of different indicators now for all kinds of Chevy parts.
Now I know one of the critical components is the cable. You've got a couple of different cables here. You're going to show me some of the things to look for when you're buying a cable. Why don't you explain this one to me?
Okay. We get cable calls every single day, and people call because they've purchased a cable, they've tried to install our parts, and things aren't working. So two things on a cable. The cables actually are installed when they're in the car. This is the shifter end. They're kind of like this. So if you want to pull on it,
It doesn't even move.
doesn't even move, yeah. That happens. And these are reproduction cables.
Why don't you show me how yours works?
Okay, so this is our cable, and you can put it like,
Wow, it's actually really smooth and easy. What a difference.
and they don't look like a factory cable, but they work.
That's important.
So
And then I understand some of the issues is they don't travel enough. I mean, there's really a lot of cables out there.
there's other cables like this one here. This is another reproduction cable, and if you look at the travel on it is marginal.
Looks like it's about an inch less than yours.
Yeah, it does. It is about, and then that causes problems.
Okay, the other thing I noticed is that you allow for a lot more flexibility in your brackets and your attachments.
And that's because not only we use them for a number of different cars, the same parts, but it allows the customer more ability to adjust the cable properly. And this little pin goes in there, and that's where the adjustment happens.
Okay, so what's the proper way to adjust it once I get the new parts in?
Well, the proper way is to adjust it so that when the parts are on the car, the cable should actually, at the transmission, you should be able to take the cable eyelet off the pin in every gear, and it should just come off easily. So it should hit the stops properly, and then when you're in that gear, it should come off at the lever shouldn't jump. If
Okay.
it jumps, you're not adjusted properly.
So Herb, what do you have for the weekend racers?
This is a detent that was created by Thompson Performance. We've installed one here on the shifter to show you how it works. But you would start out just like normal park, reverse, drive, overdrive. But when you go back into first gear with this one, if you can imagine, you just slam it forward, it stops for second, okay? You don't have to think about it. With a factory style detent, it would go all the way to neutral if you got too excited, you know. And these are weekend warriors, that can happen. Then now for third gear, you have to squeeze the handle and it catches on the top. And there you got third, stops. You let go, you push forward, stops in overdrive, and doesn't go into neutral.
That'll keep me from going into neutral.
Yes,
Perfect.
over revving, yes.
Okay, so if you have an older Chevelle and you want to put in a nice new overdrive transmission or any one of the classic automobiles, you really want to call ShiftWorks. Make sure you get the proper parts and have your car look like it should originally. Well, that's all the time we have today. Come back for us next week for more Performance TV.